Hey, what's up, you guys? Today we're going to be learning how to make a swap, but in two different forms, one as a partition and one as a file. So you might ask what swap is. What swap is that, let's imagine you have a laptop, has 8 gigs of RAM, and when it gets full, it offloads the data to a swap partition / file, wherever it is, either on your hard drive, SSD, wherever. But basically, in a nutshell, that's what swap is. It's basically like page file in Windows. So when your RAM gets overloaded, it puts it into this location. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to list our blocks. So we have 2 disks. We have one disk at XVDA and XVDA1, which is the first partition. This is XVDG. So the reason why it's called XVDA is because it's a virtual disk. This is actually on an Amazon Cloud instance. So, or basically EC2. So, but that's why it's called XVDA. If that looks kind of weird to you guys, that's what it is. It's a virtual disk. So the first thing we're going to do is do swap on -s. This will tell us what we have like as swap. At the moment we have nothing. So we're going to create a swap partition on XVDG. Right now, there's nothing on there. There's no partitions. There's nothing. All right, XVDG1. My fault, XVDG. So we're going to press N for new, P for primary. You press enter for the first sector. So the way this works is that this is how you make a partition on an actual disk. So the first one right here is the first sector. This actually looks for the first sector that's available. We want to do 1 gigabyte. As you can read here, it tells you the syntax of how to do it. All right, it says partition 1 of type Linux. So this is the type Linux. There's actually a table of all the types that you can label these, or basically label your disk whatever you want. But I want to label it as swap. So we're going to type in T and then 82. Because I want to name it as Linux swap, which is right over here. Okay, so I'm going to press W, and now it actually is going to reread the partition table. If you mess up, you can just exit, press Q, because nothing is permanent or anything. Nothing applies until you press W to write. And if I press LS or type in LS block, we can see that we have one partition of 1G. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is go to FS tab, because we have to make this permanent. If you don't put it in FS tab, every time you restart the computer, you're going to have to manually mount it. So we're going to use VI, and we're going to go to ETC, FS tab. And just to let you guys know, I'm doing it this way because it's easier. Technically speaking, you want to use a UUID. Because if the location gets, basically if the location gets switched on the server, like someone changes out a disk, or one of the disks, let's say, are dead, and basically the system renames or relabels everything, and the disk will actually be named incorrectly. It's not really incorrectly. They say it's SDB, but SDA dies, and then SDB becomes SDA. So that's why you use UUID, the unique ID, universal unique ID. So basically, it will always follow it no matter where it is. Doesn't matter the location. It'll always find the correct disk. So right now, I'm going to type in the location, which is dev XVDG1. And then the mount point will be nothing, which is right here. And then the type will be swap. And then defaults, and then 0, 0. That's all you gotta do. Okay. So now we're gonna actually make this permanent. We're gonna do first. We're gonna make the swap on this partition. XVD. Okay. As you can see, I got my UUID. And or this is the UUID of the actual disk, and I set up swap space already. So I'm gonna do swap on, right, and now if I check my swap, we can see that we have it allocated. So that's awesome. All right, so the next thing we can do is check ls block. We can see that we have this now labeled as swap. That is great. Now the next way we're gonna use is by making it a file. We're gonna use a dd command, and the input file will be dev0. So basically this is just basically a stream of zeros. This just spits out zeros, and the reason we need this is to fill in the data. All right, so we have the output file. This can be anything you want it to be. So I'll name it root extra swap. All right, and then the block size will be 1 megabyte chunks, and it will be 512. So basically it'll make 512 megabytes. I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna take about a couple of seconds for it to work. Okay, now if we actually check, this will exist. So now we're gonna make the swap on this file, extra swap. Okay, so it's made. Now we're gonna do swap on. Oh no, it says we need permissions, so we're gonna change it up. Okay. All right, so now since we did the permissions, everything is set up. Now we have to mount this. Very important, make sure that this is not mounted at all, because if it is mounted, then it won't work properly. You always have to make sure it's unmounted before you put it in the actual swap. So right now, I'm checking if it is mounted. Right? If you want to check, you can always do this. It's not mounted. So now we're going to mount it. Okay. So now, this is pretty easy. Root. And then we're going to type in, what's the extra? Swap. None. Swap. Defaults. 0, 0. Okay. Cool. So we're going to do swap on. Root. Extra. Swap. All right. Okay, maybe it's already mounted. So what we're going to do is check our swap, see if it shows up there. Okay, awesome. It shows up here. So you see the first one that we made was a partition. The second one was a file. So that's basically it. If we check all this, it shows you that it's on. Yep, it's working properly. All right, you guys, that's basically it. If you have any questions, please leave a message, and please subscribe. And thank you guys for watching.